Hello, my name is Kara Randolph. I am the instructor for the Grant Occupational Skills Program here at Fort Hays Career Center together with Ohio Health. I just would like to introduce myself and thank you all for coming and joining me for this orientation video. I look forward to working with all of your students and you as parents as we prepare our students to be workers in the community at some point after graduation. I'm going to go ahead and share this presentation with you all so that you can follow along with me. I hope that all of you are safe at home and taking care of each other. So let's go ahead and start. Program description. Our program is a one-year program, community-based work experience program at Grant Medical Center. Students learn job skills in real-life setting, which is an evidence-based practice and predictor for post-graduation job success. Students learn soft skills such as peer social skills and communication strategies. They also work on character development such as honesty, integrity, and self-esteem. Students are able to earn the required 120 internship hours just by participating in our program. And also they do earn 2.5 credits upon successful completion of this program. In regards to the specific internship opportunities in regards to placement within the hospital, our students work in a lot of different departments within the hospital. One of them is nutrition services, where we have some food prep. We have some retail side where we have doctors, nurses, and community members, as well as customers of the hospital who come in to get food. We also have the dish room, as well as some retail stocking on the floor and other places throughout the hospital. Moving on, there's surgical inventory. We have mailroom, supply and distribution, which includes our dock where we take in all of the supplies needed in the hospital. We also have rehabilitation department, PACU, which is our post-anesthesia care unit, and post-op, which is after surgery in the main hospital. We also have those two in the bone and joint center as well. And last but not least, we have our volunteer services in addition to customer experience within the hospital. So those are some of the areas that we work in that your students may work in throughout the school year. I did want to share a few pictures of some of our previous students. We have some of our retail stocking that you see up in the left-hand corner. In that middle picture, we have surgical inventory where we do some sorting and placing of surgical items where they need to go so that they can be collected. We also have mailroom services. In our bottom right-hand corner, we see one of our students working in PACU bone and joint. We also have PACU main, where they do stocking and cleaning of rooms. And then lastly, we have the doc represented here in our lower left-hand corner. We're able to see from those pictures, our students' uniforms are scrubs. They're a royal purple scrub that they wear around the hospital, and a lot of the staff of the hospital refer to it as the purple crew, and we refer to ourselves as the purple crew. And so those scrubs are provided to the students from the hospital, Fort Hays and Fort Hays. Those uniforms do stay at the hospital and they are washed on a routine basis. Students do have drawers at the hospital to keep their scrubs in, as well as they actually put those inside of bags and then put them into their drawer. We also require non-slip shoes per hospital policy. Those can be found at Walmart or Target for a small purchase price. I do recommend waiting until fall to purchase those. And then lastly is their Ohio identification badges. So students have to wear these at all times when they're at the hospital. Those are of course provided by the hospital, and we take care of getting those badges in our first 2 weeks of orientation at the hospital. And so that's kind of how we start our year off, is with an orientation program for about 2 weeks, and we'll get more into that later. So we have important paperwork that will be provided to you at the beginning of the school year in the fall. Those will go home with students on the first and second day of classes, and we will include paperwork in there that is related to Ohio Health and their health assessment, which I'll go into on the next slide. We also have a packet that will include my own paperwork for me to use, as well as Columbus City Schools paperwork, such as like the emergency forms that we need at Fort Hays. And so you will probably receive those from your student's home school or your child's home school, but we also require them for Fort Hays Career Center, just so that we have those on hand on our side as well. And then once you complete that paperwork, we'd like for you to return it as quickly as possible, just because that's part of our process in regards to onboarding our students at the hospital. I said I wanted to get more into the health assessments, just so you're aware. They do require the flu shot and two-step TB test for Ohio Health. So once you complete that paperwork and get it back to us, we can start the process of scheduling their two-step TB test. And so we'd like to do that as soon as possible within the first week, just because it takes 2 days for us to read that test. And then we have to start the second step of the test and then give us another 2 days to read that. So the two-step TB test happens within those first 2 weeks of orientation. And then, of course, the flu shot isn't available to us until later on in the school year. And so those are scheduled usually within October and November. And then lastly is the updated shot record, which we'll go ahead and request from the school nurses. And those are, then we could just send those over to myself, who then can give those to the hospital health services. So, and of course, if you decide to get your own flu shot prior to us scheduling at the hospital, you can always send in, just make sure that you have documentation of that, that you can send it in with the doctor's signature on it, so that I can then submit that to health services. Once that health assessment is complete and we've completed our 2 weeks of orientation, that's when the students start on their normal routine within their job site. So the daily routine, and this looks like a lot, but is essentially, if you're a morning student, even if you're an afternoon student, you get on a bus and then that brings you to Fort Hays. From Fort Hays, you get on the transportation bus to Grant Hospital for our program. That bus brings you to the hospital, and from there, we go ahead and start our daily routine. And then at the end of the day, of course, you'll go back to Fort Hays to hop on your bus back home or bus back to homeschool if you're a morning student. And so that may sound a little confusing, but if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out. It does sound a little complicated just at first, and we do this with the students until they feel comfortable. So not to worry about that. I don't want you to stress out about the transportation, and the students, it's a great opportunity for the students to learn some independence, and also opportunity for them to just navigate transportation and that kind of thing. So so once the students arrive at the hospital, we do daily check-ins and announcements. Students walk to their job sites, and then they're observed by staff on the job. So you're matched into a department, and so the staff member that you may be working alongside can change from day to day. But myself and, as I mentioned, the program assistant are constantly doing rounds and shifts to check in with students, perhaps making accommodations for them, working through the job with them, those kind of things throughout their shift, which is usually about 2 hours. At the end of the shift, of course, we return back to the classroom. Students get their belongings, change out of their scrubs, return them folded into the drawer, and then the students ride the bus back to Fort Hays. And from there, again, if they're a morning student, they'll ride back to their home school. If they're an afternoon student, they'll ride back home. Grades and evaluation. So our grading is based on observational work assessments, and students are doing hands-on training. They're graded on a variety of job skills. There's actually 20 of them, but some of them include professionalism. There's a number of things that fall underneath professionalism, endurance. We want to make sure that they can work for that full 2 hours. And we have some class time just to talk about, what an actual job, what that shift is going to look like. We also talk about, or they're also graded, on attendance, work quality, communication, self-advocacy, independence, and travel skills. We do meet quarterly with the students, kind of like an evaluation that you'd have at work. And we just talk about self-reflection, what that means, what that looks like, but then also having them self-reflect and decide, okay, what are some things that I'm doing really well, are my strengths? What are some things that I need to improve on, my weaknesses? And from there, we set goals for improvement moving forward. Students are also required to do a self-reflection at the end of each month, which we do prior to heading to work. And that just gives them some time to reflect on, okay, what am I doing that's doing really well right now? What are some areas that I need to improve on? Just so that that's a more consistent activity for them. Behavior expectations. Of course, we want your student, your child, to demonstrate professional work behavior, which is including and not limited to following hospital safety and work rules, following the hospital compliance requirements, making sure that they're following the Columbus City behavior expectations. So those are things that we require from our students. We will have conversations with you if we feel like the student is not following the safety rules or work rules at the hospital. So these are just things that you need to keep in mind in regards to behavior. Attendance expectation, just this is crucial for success in our program is your attendance. It's also something that we really focus on just because that's, of course, something that's important in order to keep a job. And our end goal for all of our students is that they are able to find successful employment in the community post-graduation. So our students are, of course, excused for high school activities such as field trip and senior activities and things of that nature that they'd like to participate in. We just ask that you follow the call-off procedures, which we explain to the students in the fall, so they'll know what those are. And also that whenever you're absent, to return with an excuse note. So of course, sick policy is if you are sick, if you're coughing, you're vomiting, you have a fever, that kind of thing, you're not able to come to work, then we ask that you stay home. Of course, we want you to get better. But also with us being in the hospital and the community, that's kind of the hospital expectation, is that if you are ill, that you stay home. This is a unique program where we don't have, it's not at a school setting, and so we don't have a school nurse for your students to go to. So it's just important to make sure that if your student is not feeling well, that they do stay at home. I just forgot to mention also to send in a note if your child was sick or ill, parent note, and then I can send that in to our attendance secretary so that it can be excused. Which gets us into hygiene expectations. And these are things that we discuss in orientation, just about taking showers daily, making sure your hair is fixed for the job, making sure that you're washing hands before the job, using appropriate protective equipment. If you're working perhaps like in PACU, you need to use gloves. If you're working in the kitchen, of course, you're using gloves and a hairnet, those kind of things. And so we talk to the students about that and why it's important to keep good hygiene for good health, etc. Communication in office hours. If you'd like to communicate with me, of course, my email is one place where you can always contact me. It's crandolph@columbus K12.oh.us, which is printed there for you. But what I like to use, especially because we are a community-based program, and so we're always on our feet and moving, I do use the Remind app to send out announcements and also to communicate individually with parents. You also have the capability to communicate with me and send me messages throughout the day if there was something that's urgent. For students. The students do leave their phones in the classroom or in our room or space during the day. So if you were needing to contact them, you can always contact me on my phone. So if you could take out your phone now, as long as you have unlimited text messaging or you have messaging on your phone, this is a free service. So if you take out your phone, you're going to send a text to 81010 and text the message at the @ grant, all lowercase, GRANT, 20202. So again, if you take out your phone and send a text to 81010 and text the message @ grant 20202, exactly how it's printed on the screen. That will then send me a message that you are requesting to get into the group, and then I can begin sending announcements to you all over the summer as well as in the fall for those first few weeks if you're having any questions or concerns. My office hours currently are from 8 to 2, Monday through Friday. You can reach me via reminder email. And of course, if you'd like to have a phone conversation, just send me an email with your phone number and I'd be happy to give you a call to answer any questions that you may have. I hope this was helpful for you and that you all are excited for your students for next year, as I am, to meet them and to get to know them a lot better. I know most of them I've met on a tour over the past school year. So I look forward to working with them more. Thank you so much for tuning in for my orientation, and I look forward to working with you next year. Have a wonderful day.